Our gospel for this morning is one you usually hear at Christmas. It's from the first chapter of the Gospel of John. And you might be used to a different translation as well, but you'll understand when you hear it. And the Word became flesh and tabernacled, pitched his tent among us. And we have seen his glory, such glory as an only begotten Son receives from his Father, full of grace and truth. The gospel of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Well, in Minnesota, we have two seasons, right? You know this, right? Winter and? Excellent, road construction, okay? And because we live in Minnesota, we are tough. We go outside in both seasons, right? In winter, we're ice fishing, we're snowmobiling, we're skiing. And in road construction season, also known as summer, we're hiking, camping, boating, fishing, and gardening. Summer comes, school lets out, and we head into the great outdoors. Now, when we venture outdoors, we can run into all kinds of things, right? Mosquitoes are a given. Let's just say it out loud. Mosquitoes happen, okay? But we could also run into a bear, right? I've seen the Facebook photos. I know some of you have had this going on lately, okay? When we head outdoors, we can also come face to face with some good stuff, like God, which is why we're spending this month exploring ways we can encounter God in various places in the great outdoors. Oh no, where's my slide? My slide died. But anyway, note the clever sermon series title we've got, Meeting God in the Great Outdoors. It will show back up there in a minute. As I told the kids, today we're talking about meeting God in forests and campgrounds. Now, I grew up in a family that camped, so I've been in a few forests and campgrounds over the years, and I've learned that it is important to be prepared. It is the Boy Scout motto and the Girl Scout motto to be prepared, and there's a reason for that. For example, you go for a walk in the forest, and you don't bring bug spray, you're gonna wish you had, right? You gotta be prepared. You gotta be prepared, okay? So I've got a story about being prepared. Years ago, I took a trip to Denali National Park in Alaska with a couple of friends. And at Denali, they have this bus that takes you into the heart of the park. It's this pristine, nature preserve wilderness, and they don't want everybody's cars going through messing it all up. So they have these buses that run through the park. And when you're on the bus, you can ask the driver to stop anywhere along the way to let you out. Now, this might sound like the worst idea ever when you realize that when you get out, the bus will drive away, leaving you with no shelter and no protection from the wild animals whose home you are traipsing through. Okay? We're talking moose and grizzly bears, okay? Bad idea. Okay? Well, yes and no to the bad idea. It is definitely the worst idea if you are not prepared, which is why the rangers gave us a talk before we got on the bus. They explained that the moose were calving at that time of year, so stay away from the moose. Okay? They said the good thing about moose is that they're territorial, easy for me to say. So if you come across a moose and the moose starts to charge, run. Okay? Run as fast as you can, and by the time you stop running, the moose will have stopped chasing you long ago, because all it really wanted was to get you out of its territory. So filed that in my brain, run away from moose. Got it. Okay. The rangers also explained to us that you never want to run away from a bear. If you run from a bear in Denali, it's going to think that you are food. Okay? It will think you are prey, and it will chase you, and you don't want that to happen. Instead, if you come across a grizzly bear in Denali, you're supposed to make yourself very big and very human, like so. Hey bear, I am a human, I taste terrible, and I don't have any food. Okay? That's what they tell you to do. And if you do that, the ranger said, the bears in this remote park will walk away. I do not know if this is still the case. Do not quote me on this. Do not stake your life on this. Okay? But back then, this park in Alaska was so natural and free from litter and from people's stuff and people's food that bears didn't see people as a source of food. They had no idea we all had granola bars in our pockets. No clue, okay? But this is how they prepared us, how the rangers prepared us to go into the wilderness. So my friends and I, we hopped on the bus. A few miles into the park, we asked the bus driver to stop, and we got out. The bus pulled away, and we started walking along the road. Yeah. We could see some doll sheep eating grass. They're beautiful, white, a type of mountain goat, very pretty as they munched on the grass. We admired the view across the valley, the sun changing the color of the hills. We could see the big mountain in the distance. We just enjoyed the walk. And then we noticed a grizzly bear with a cub. Yeah, so we stopped. We stopped immediately, and we stood very still and very quietly assessed the situation. The bears were a good distance away. We didn't think they saw us. So what should we do? The rangers had prepared us for this, okay? So we decided to continue walking very slowly while keeping an eye on the bears, moving very quietly, and to flag down the next bus that came by to get on it. And that's what we did. Worked out great, okay? Now, if we had not been prepared to meet a bear, that whole thing could have gone sideways really quick, okay? But we were prepared, so it was okay. Preparation is important, okay? Now, obviously, I want you to be prepared to meet bears and moose and mosquitoes, but I also want you to be prepared to meet good stuff. I want you to be prepared to meet the best, to meet God in forests and campgrounds. Because if we're not prepared to meet God, we might not recognize when God shows up. And that would be a missed opportunity. And that'd be too bad. So here's one way to prepare to meet God in the forest. Years ago, do you notice these all start out with years ago? Then I had kids and stuff didn't happen anymore. All right, but years ago, I helped lead a group of high schoolers on a backpacking trip on Isle Royale. If you have not done this, you need to do this. It's amazing. Okay. One of the days we were there, we were going to be hiking from an inland campsite to a spot on the shore of the island. So, morning, everybody got their backpacks all ready and packed up, and then we told the group the plan. The plan was to do a silent hike, okay? A group of high schoolers and 2 adults, one of whom was me. Silent hike, yeah, okay? From the time we left our campsite until we arrived at the spot on the coast, we were to walk in silence. We would leave about 5 feet between us and the person in front of us. And as we walked, we were to listen for sounds, listen to silence, listen to creatures, and listen for God. So we did. We heard birds. We heard the wind in the trees. We heard our boots hitting the trail. As we neared the shore, we heard the waves washing against the land. It was powerful and so simple. We prepared ourselves to recognize God's presence in God's creation. We heard God with our ears. We saw God in the sunlight streaming through the trees, in the birds that flew by, in the sun glittering off the lake, in the people in front of us, created in God's image. It's that simple. If you prepare yourself to run into God, you'll recognize him. God is everywhere. So of course God is in the great outdoors. So, a few ways you can prepare yourself to meet God in forests and campgrounds this summer. Kids, these are the tips I was telling you to listen for, okay? So you're listening and your family's listening. You guys are going to be all over this summer, all right? If you are going on a family camping trip, pray before you pile in the car and go, okay? Stand in a little circle, grab hands, and pray that you'll experience God in the forests and campgrounds. If you're camping where you know it's going to be packed, pray that you'll be open to meeting new people, because they are children of God just like you. The people that you meet in the campground, they're so much fun. They're such a blessing. And pray that you will be a good neighbor to the people that you're camping next to. Okay? Now, if you're going for a walk in the forest by yourself, pray before you walk. Quiet your mind. I know a lot of us do this for exercise. Stop before you go and go, wait a minute, God opportunity. Quiet your mind and ask God to help you notice signs of God's presence as you walk. Invite God to walk with you and speak to you in some way. If you're going hiking with a friend and you don't feel comfortable praying with them for whatever reason, pray before you head out. Pray before you meet up. Pray that you'll experience God in that friendship that day. Pray that you'll recognize God's love in the kindness and the camaraderie of your friend. Even the silliness, that counts too. God shows up in that stuff. And pray that you'll both feel awe at the beauty of God's creation. It's simple stuff. I want to leave you with an image from the Bible that reminds me that God is indeed in the great outdoors. John's gospel talks about God showing up in Jesus this way. The Word became flesh and pitched his tent among us. Like me, you might have grown up hearing, the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. And that's a perfectly fine translation. But the Greek word literally means pitched a tent. I love that. I get goosebumps every time I think of it. In Jesus, God pitches a tent in our campground. Okay? God creates this amazing world, including us, and chooses to show up in Jesus like he's pitching a tent in the middle of our campground. Best image of God ever. God pulling up a little tree stump and making s'mores with us. I mean, come on. Okay? As you travel to forests and campgrounds this summer, remember that God is there. God pitches a tent right next to you. So prepare yourself to come face to face with God. It is 1,000,000 times better and less scary than coming face to face with a bear. Okay? And believe me, if chatty teenagers and a couple of adults on Isle Royal can experience God in the great outdoors simply by being prepared, you can too. Amen.